Alright, welcome back to 651 Customs. In this episode, we're going to get this the engine mounts completed. We're going to get a brace made to go underneath both mounts, and then we're going to pull the engine out, completely mount the engine mount cross member, and then work on the clutch slave cylinder and make a mount for it, get it ready to go on there, and then after that we'll just have to see what happens. Alright, I made this template and I got it traced out on this 1/4 inch angle. I'm going to cut that out, angle grinder, and then drill my holes and trim it to fit. And that will be my clutch bracket. I'm making it purposely way bigger than it needs to be. That way I have room to add some supports around in case I need to. I probably will, because I don't think it'll be strong enough with just the 2 bolts. But I'm gonna get this cut out and then we'll test fit it. Okay, a little update here. I've been working on the clutch slave cylinder bracket. I'm using these 2 bell housing bolts to hold it. I found some bolts that are a little longer than factory, so it should work good. I used a hose clamp to hold my thing in place there, and I'm just gonna go underneath and make sure my measurements work out for the location of the slave cylinder. I want it to be lined up straight as possible so it's pushing evenly on the fork. But that's the progress so far. Once I get that finished, I'm gonna pull it off, get it painted, shape it a little bit so it looks nice, round off all the edges, trim a little bit next to the firewall there because it's really tight, and once I get that done, I should be able to put the engine back in, I think. Okay, since we're in here looking at the clutch bracket I'm making, just wanted to point out how much in the way this upper arm is. It's right where I need to run the exhaust. So when I get that lift kit in, I'm going to run my exhaust literally right through this bracket. So I'll probably end up cutting that bracket off. Probably on both sides. And then just run a long arm lift kit. That should be pretty good. That'll get a lot of stuff out of the way. Hopefully make it easier to do exhaust and whatnot. But that's a little update for now. I'm gonna get back to it, get this clutch slave bracket done, and we'll go from there. Okay, got the engine mounts painted, got my little clutch adapter bracket painted. Got those painted, got to get the engine back in here. Maybe for the final time, but probably not. So once I get it in, I have got to weld a bar between these 2 because I want it to have like a cross member, because that'll help support the engine. So get the engine in, then cut and weld that in there. That way it doesn't flex the frame rails apart too much. So I'm going to set the camera up, do a time lapse, getting this engine back in. Okay, I had this thing installed and I kept struggling trying to get it in, and got to thinking, There's got to be a reason why it's not going in there. So pulled it out, and as you can see, there are no bearings in that anymore. No pilot bearing there. So had to get me a new one. So I had to wait for that to come in. This one looks a little bit different, but it is the same size, so should work. This is the part number, advanced adapters. That's where I got the kit from originally. So I'm gonna throw that in real quick, and then we'll put this engine in. Hopefully, maybe last time. Probably not though. Lots of stuff to do, so we'll see. Okay, it's finally like mated to the transmission again. I spent 2 hours before struggling to get that thing together. Destroyed the pilot bushing somehow, or pilot bearing. Had to order a new one, so I got the new one in. Now it's in. It took like 10 minutes this time. I spent 2 hours on it trying to get that together, so just goes to show sometimes it don't work out. Sometimes you got to come back another day. So I'm gonna get this thing bolted together, and then that way I can get the engine where it needs to be. It's sitting really low right now, which is not at all where it should be at. So I got to get my mounts in there and all that stuff. But I'm gonna put the camera up and time lapse that. Okay, got it bolted together. I just tested the clutch out. You can see the master cylinder barely down in there. I made that custom bracket down there so I could bolt the clutch slave to the bell housing, and I just went underneath. I've got it all in gear right now, so nothing, a little bit of play, and I'm gonna push the clutch pedal down using a jack handle. Okay, as you can see, I've got jack handle on the seat there, holding the clutch pedal down. So now I'm going to spin that drive shaft, and as you can see, I'm able to turn it. So there you go, and it's in 4 low, so it's a little difficult to turn, but it's turning. So I'll go up under here. You can see that is my clutch setup, and I'm not sure what the thickness is on that still, but doesn't appear to be flexing or anything strange. The only issue I've ran into is the length of the rod I need. So right now I've got a bolt in it. Now obviously that won't work forever because you'll wear out the slave cylinder and probably wear out the little thing here as well. But so I've got to get that swapped out for an actual rod, or make one or something. That's a head bolt out of, I believe, out of something. But I'll take that length of bolt, measure it, and then find a rod, something adjustable that comes around that size. That way I've got adjustment. I forget what they're called, but they make little things that you can do that with. But yeah, I'll get that put in there. But for now, this is working, and that is a homemade bracket. Junk in the way, but you can kind of see in there I've got the 2 bell housing bolts, kind of a knife handle shape. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, was a knife when I made it. But yeah, there it is. So that is the clutch setup for now. I'm going to get this engine on the engine mounts, and I'll be done for today. And then the next thing we'll do is figure out how to make the engine itself run. Okay, engine mounts are in, finally supporting its own weight. I've got to make a brace to go between the 2 engine mounts on the bottom. So I'm gonna go around the oil pan. I've got one started down there, but I'm gonna quit for the night because it's getting late, and I do all this work on weekdays. So but come back tomorrow and we'll hopefully get that brace made to go underneath the engine, and then maybe start on wiring or something, just trying to figure out what's what and where's it going to go and all that. Probably should do my pulley system next after I get the engine mount done, because if I don't know where those go, then we're going to have problems. So yeah, next thing is to get that brace made, so let's do it. Okay, there it is. Finally bolted in under its own weight. I made a little tubular bracket thing, brace to go between the engine mounts. It's on there. The welds are bad. The welds look better down here, but that should hold the engine in place pretty good. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Only thing I am worried about is clearance. I am going to lift this thing 4.5 inches, and that may not clear. But we'll just have to wait and see when we get the lift kit. I can always bring this thing up a little bit, move it around wherever I need to go. But for now, that is pretty close to where it's supposed to be sitting at. So now we can move on to the next thing. I'm going to get the wiring straightened out. I've got to get this computer out of here and get all the wiring that goes to it out of the way, figure out what goes to what, and figure out how to splice in the Ford wiring. So I'll probably strip this harness down to get rid of the computer and just keep sensors and whatnot, because I would like to retain the factory sensors if at all possible. But everything else can go. So I'm going to start working on that and see what I can figure out. I might time lapse some of this. Okay, little update here. Been doing some wiring. Got the computer cut out. Got all the unnecessary connections out of there. For the most part, I've still got a bundle here I've got to deal with. But most of the things I don't need have been cut out. I've got a bunch of wires here to deal with. A couple of extra circuits, power and grounds and whatnot to get. Got to figure out where I'm pulling power from to get my computer to turn on, all that stuff. And I've got, this is all the start and the alternator starter kind of wiring stuff. A lot of stuff to go through. I've tried to label it the best I can. Doesn't seem too bad now that I've got a lot of stuff labeled. I can just go through and make what connections need to be made. I got to get the new wiring harness for the engine and throw it on here. This is everything I should need to make the engine run, and I went through this. This is the Ford wiring harness, and I chopped it down a bunch, but it's not finished yet. It'll probably go somewhere out there where the factory computer was mounted, and I'll just run what wires I need off of it, to it and from it, and all that. Get my sensors. Most of the sensors for the engine are on the engine, and all I have to do is take this connector There it is. All I have to do is take this connector here and run it over to my connector here. Well, if I would point the camera. But this is my connector for all the engine sensors and stuff, everything I need to run the engine pretty much. And this will connect it to the firewall wiring stuff. And then this will be the computer. So some way I'm going to mount the computer here to the fender, run all my wires to the engine. All the extra sensors I need, mainly all I need out of this will be like the ignition module. I think I left all the start stuff, or maybe not, I'm not sure. That'll be a O2 sensor, I believe. Four little things in there means O2 sensor pretty much. Some power to hook up, some grounds to hook up. I'm gonna attempt to connect it the way it would have been from factory and see if I can use, like, this has got these little bundles of different types of things going on here. This is power for the sensors, I believe. That's just key on power, I think. And then over here on the Jeep harness, you've got a lot of those similar type situations where this is power for the sensors, and this is constant power, and this one goes to the computer over there, or went to the Jeep computer. And then you've got your grounds all bundled up. I believe that's grounds. Or no, the blue in this harness is need to put that over here with this. So I believe the blue in this harness is the start run power, and then the red is constant power. So just a lot of wire and stuff to hook up. I'm gonna turn the camera off, get back to doing my thing here, see what I can get figured out, and figure out how to make this thing run with the Jeep harness. I'd like to set it up where the Ford harness communicates with the Jeep harness. That would be ideal, but that may not happen. It would be nice to put a connector between the two and run all my stuff through it. I wish I had some of those Deutz connectors or whatever they call them. That would be perfect. I already had to spot some wires for the transfer case position sensor. I had to splice the wires. This was a 2-wheel drive, so I didn't have any of the, yeah, there it is, hidden back here. So 2-wheel drive Jeeps don't have the harness for the how am I saying that? But this was 2-wheel drive, so it didn't have the wires for the transfer case thing, the plug for it. So when I swapped it 4-wheel drive, I just held on to the harness that goes on top of the trans for that, which is this. And I finally got around to putting it in here, but it was for a 93 or something, 94, so I had an old style connection. So I ended up just cutting the ends off and using spade connections, which is not ideal because they're not waterproof, but it'll work. Shouldn't get much water in that area anyways. I'm not making a mud Jeep. So that should work for now. Got my speed sensor on there, got my transfer case shifter. I've also got to get the reverse light connection back to the transmission, which is right here. You got your oil pressure, and then it goes back to the trans, and that's where your reverse switch is. So bunch of connections. Just kind of thinking out loud here, really. I'm going to turn the camera off and get to splicing and cutting. Okay, as you can see by the mess, been doing some more wiring. I've got the Ford wiring laying here. And I've begun making connections to the main harness for the Jeep, taking out a lot of unnecessary things and just trying to keep what I need. I've learned a lot about the way this Jeep system works and how the power distribution block works and all that. A lot of these relays and stuff, I'm maintaining their function. Everything is going to be fused just as it was, so close to factory but not quite. But I'm gonna keep at it here, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, we're getting closer here. I got the computer kind of mocked up. That is definitely not where I'm gonna leave it, but everything for the most part is connected, I think. Kind of tidied up a little bit here, just kind of figuring out what's what. I've still got a couple things over here I don't know. I have no clue what that went to. And also this one, I have no idea what that did. Yellow wire went to the ECU, and then unless these two, okay, like I was saying, no idea what these two go to. At first I was like, wait, did they go together? But no, they do not. Different type of plug. But no clue. And then I have this lone wire among a couple other lone wires. A couple of grounds and whatnot. But that's it for today. I'm going to come back tomorrow and do some more cleaning up on the wiring stuff. It's about to storm, so I'm gonna get to the house and I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, I'm just mocking up the accessory bracket, or accessories. I've taken the smog pump off. I'm gonna run my serpentine, something like this. Where my hand is will be the power steering pump. And then that should be the only, right like that. That should be all I need. That'll be a weird looking setup. Oh, let's see, I've got my, there we go, it goes underneath the tensioner. But yeah, that'll be my pulley setup. Have a power steering pump over here where my hand is. Plenty of grab around the pulley. So, should work pretty good. But I was just putting the oil filter on, and I got this because it was the shortest thing I could find. But I was just looking at it and I noticed this bad boy was made in USA, or at least that's what it says. Who knows where the parts came from? But we'll see how long that lasts, or see how long the engine lasts with the cheapest of cheap oil filters. So, let me get this thing throw on here real quick. We might have a problem. Well, this thing doesn't even fit. I went for the specs for a 99 Ford Explorer, the 5.0, because I assume the filter is the same for all the 5.0s, but maybe not. This is what it called for. I have to see if I can find my receipt. Return this $4 air or oil filter. Okay, I looked it up, and the oil filter is indeed different. I didn't realize it, but the older ones take an FLA1 or whatever, and then the newer ones are a different part number, or the Ford Explorers are a different part number for the oil filter, which I never realized. I thought all the small block Ford 5.0s were the same, but I guess not. We'll get the new one though, get it put on. But for now, let's get this accessory drive figured out. Okay, I've got a power steering pump for, I believe that one came off a Crown Vic. This one is off a Super Duty with the 5.7 or 7.5. And then I've got that brand new one over there in that pile of parts that I'm about to put on. I'm going to use this one to test fit and make my bracket, and then I'll put that one on. But I had to pull the pulleys off. I don't want to use this pulley because it's missing a chunk out of it. I'm going to use that pulley, which came off of this one, or this pump, which should work just fine. But I'm going to put that pulley on, test fit it, get my bracket made, and then I'm going to wait till I get it mounted, I think, to put that pulley on that pump, because that's the pump that's going on. Because I don't think I can get my bolts in with the pulley on. So I'll do that when I get the bracket done. But I'm going to work on that for now. Okay, I've been mocking up a bracket here. It's going to go something like this. Just a plate to bolt to the cylinder head. Then I'll make the plate to go on the front of the pump. And then round piece. Trying to do simple shapes here, just make it easier. All of the ways this is weak right now are going to be the ways that it is weak when I make it out of metal. So I've got to think of how to reinforce this. So I'll probably end up putting some braces and stuff on here, some more metal in a couple places just to get it to be a little more sturdy. But it's coming along. I think I'm going to start cutting out some pieces in metal, just the stuff I know what's going to stay the same, just the front plate and the bracket for the cylinder head. After that, I'll work on making my round piece, getting it cut out into shape, get the length and all that stuff right. This is a little bit longer that way than what it needs, so make that, see if I can figure out how to make a bend without any real metal forming tools, and we'll go from there. Probably I'm gonna try to tack everything together. I'll leave this part disconnected or whatever. That way I can hold the pump up there where I need it to be. Might use the engine hoist on that just to have it staying in place for me. Then hold it tight to the backing plate, hold this to that, tack, 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 and then take it apart and weld it fully. But first I gotta get the metal formed, so let's do it. Okay, got the right oil filter on it finally. This is a SuperTech ST16. It's the shortest that wasn't the Fram, so probably same quality as a Fram, but it is made USA, so we're gonna go with that. Working on this bracket still. Got to get the metal and cut something out to make that work. I'm gonna start. I believe I already went through this in the last time I was here, but we'll cut this front piece out, cut the bracket out that goes to the head, and then we'll work on making a round little doohickey to attach it all together. And I'll probably add a support from the middle of this over to these two, maybe one, or maybe I'll just do some sort of triangulation on this bolt, and kind of circularize it. It would be good to put it would be a pretty good idea to do a sleeve here and then have that fully supporting the entirety of it and have a plate here. So I may do that. That's a good idea. May have to get different length of bolts, but that could work. That would make it pretty strong, substantially stronger than just having it hanging straight off the head. So I'm going to work on getting that stuff done, and I will show you what I come up with once I get some metal cut up. Okay, been working on this bracket. I've got my rusty pitted piece of metal here cut down into a shape that'll work. Fits around pretty tight. The only thing is that took forever because I don't have a plasma cutter and I don't have good material to work with, but that's okay, because if you grind on something enough, eventually you'll have a shape that works. So it's very hot, so I gotta wear a glove, but that should work. I test fitted the bolts a second ago and they were fine, so I'm gonna move on to making that round piece that's gonna curve around it. Or, well, I guess I'll make the plate to go on the head first, because I gotta have something to weld that to. But get that, then I'm gonna make that plate and get it tacked up. Alright, I've been working on this bracket. I think I'm gonna end this video here. This is what I've got so far. The front plate kind of copied the original way the bracket is. But if you want to see me finish that up, make sure you tune in for the next video, and hopefully we can get the plate that mounts on the head ready to go on there. Then I'll make that curve and tack it all together, get it mocked up. We'll find out what belt length I need. But if you'd like to see that, make sure you tune in for the next video. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow for more.